I'm not going to tell you that higher temperatures give better layer adhesion, or that more infill and more perimeters give you a stronger part, or even that you need a flat surface of the part to print as a base. What I'm going to tell you is about DFM, design for manufacture, about how the design process you go through can make sure that your part is efficient, effective and printable for yourself as well as others. So here are some top tips for design for manufacture for 3D printing. So let's play a game. If you already knew all of these tips, you can leave a dislike for me wasting your time. But if you learned one thing, just one out of the 5, then you have to leave a like. Let's get started. Don't be afraid of complexity. One of the beauties of FDM printing is that you can make a part more complex without really increasing its cost or time to print. As long as it's the same volume, you're going to take about the same time to print it. So when you're designing a part, if you need a part that does A and a part that does B, try to combine them into a single part. That way you increase the complexity, and in traditional methods that might make it more expensive. But here with FDM, you actually you have more features in a single part. Tip number 2, do your holes need to be circle? Whilst it's easy for printers to draw circles on a top edge, anything facing in the X or Y directions can be more difficult to print. The reason being, as it approaches the top of the circle, you have a pretty major overhang. And as your circles get larger, this overhang can be more of a problem. One thing you can do to overcome this is make your holes hexagonal. You paste one flat edge at the bottom, the other obviously is then at the top, and you exchange your significant overhang on a circle for a longer bridge. Tip number 3, try not to print things too large. While your printer might be capable of printing massive objects, if you're looking for strong 3D engineered parts, then the smaller the better, especially if they're under load. Plastic parts are not as strong as metal parts. While some items, like an electronics enclosure, have to be a certain size in order to enclose what they're enclosing, for other parts, try to keep them as small as possible and join them with more rigid, metallic, off-the-shelf components like brackets or 2020 extrusion. Number 4, get your fixing lengths correct. Correct fixing length is important to make sure the screws hold as strong as they can and that they don't come loose over time. The correct amount of threads to be protruding from the back of a nut is 2 to 3 turns. If you can't get fixings in the exact length you need, try adding a counterbore to where the head is. That will bring the head closer to the nut and reduce the length required, or go the other way if needed. Tip number 5, don't fillet all the things. When you're in CAD, it's very tempting to put fillets over everything and make it look really pretty. But think about how it's going to be actually manufactured. When your 3D printer starts to build that part and it's starting obviously bottom up, if you've got fillets on that first edge, you're going to be starting your print with a ridiculous overhang. In some areas, obviously fillets are functional, but where they're not and you're just looking for a nice edge or something to not be sharp, consider using a chamfer. It's a much more controlled way of having a sort of rounded corner. On your overhangs, you can set exactly what that overhang is going to be, as opposed to hoping that a fillet works because it's got a massive overhang at parts. Yeah, don't fillet all the things, try a chamfer instead. So that's my top 5 DFM tips for 3D printing. That's design for manufacture. Remember, if you learned something, leave a like. Subscribe if you want to see more tips like this. And that's pretty much it. I shall see you in the next one.